Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Mildred, my assistant, who is taking her afternoon siesta. And when she siestizes, boy, is she out. Right, Mildred? Yeah, see, she's gone. Poor thing. She's so tired. I know life is so stressful when you're a cat and all of your needs are taken care of by your well-trained human. Well, we're here to talk about Debussy's Etudes. That's what I meant. The Etudes. That's what we're talking about. The reference recording for the Debussy Etudes. And here it is. Mitsuko Uchida. Absolutely, hands down, the reference recording. For a lot of reasons. Actually, this was really fascinating when this came out in 1990. Wow, is that when it was released? 1990. Wow, baby. Amazing. Well, here's the deal. The Debussy piano music is one of the most important and voluptuous and delicious and marvelous bodies of music ever written for the keyboard. Everybody agrees about that. But Debussy's style really evolved over time, particularly from the, Impressionist fog early days. Well, his early days were even before that, but the mature period, which was never really as foggy or impressionistic as people like to think, actually. But that's the style that we like, from the Monet style, the water lilies, to the more Fauvist, hard-hitting, style of somebody like, I don't know, not Monet, what's his name? The other one who, Cézanne or Gauguin, or somebody who had Matisse. That's who I mean. The Fauvist people, the Matisse, the hard outlines and bolder brushstrokes and whatnot. That's where Debussy sort of wound up at the end of his life. He didn't live to be that old, remember. How old was he, 57 or something? 1862 to 1918. So, yeah, go figure, 56. He was young when he passed away. And let me see, did I add that right? Let's say 50. Yeah, I did. I think I did. 50 would be 1912. Yeah, absolutely. So, there was a lot more left in him. But the late instrumental sonatas for cello, violin, and for flute and harp are part of that style. And Jeu is certainly part of that style. And this thing, the Etudes, are part of that style. And they were a puzzle to many pianists, especially pianists like the classic Walter Gieseking, who was like the Debussy guy, because he emphasized touch more than almost any other quality in his playing. He was the man with the velvet touch. And that's what you needed to do Debussy. You needed to make the piano an instrument without pedals, without hammers, with no percussive strokes. Well, there's all kinds of percussive strokes here, because actually most of these things have very little to do with color per se. They're etudes, and the etudes are for things like for the 5 fingers after Czerny. It's a fake little Czerny exercise with some cute little wrong notes thrown in. And then you've got an etude in thirds and in fourths and sixths and octaves. And for 8 fingers, like this, without elthumos. Or you've got, then we've got a chromatic etude for chromatic intervals. And let's see, and for ornaments and repeated notes and opposed sonorities and arpeggios and then chords, finally chords. We wind up with chords. With chords, of course, you can do the touch thing to a certain degree. All of these pieces, of course, when I say they don't depend on touch, of course they do. It's piano music. They require all the resources of the pianist. And of course, these are not just etudes in terms of dry technical exercises. They are works of art, like Chopin's etudes. And so you have to bring the full arsenal of pianistic gifts to the interpretation of each one. They are special in that way. But still, they were considered by many Debussy pianists and Debussy lovers as somewhat dry and formulaic and enigmatic. I mean, they weren't what people expected. And when a composer of genius does what people expected and you don't get it, then the problem is not the composer's, it's your problem. And Mitsuko Uchida, who was, Uchida, however you pronounce it, who's a marvelous pianist, went at this with quite simply, the full panoply of pianistic, oh, listen to the alliteration, the full panoply of pianistic plenitude and punctuation. And now she just plays magnificently. She realizes the art in the etude. That was what people heard when this first came out. I mean, it won all kinds of awards. It was really a major release. And what made it so impressive was the fact that she did it with a major work by a major composer, which had hitherto not been given the kind of attention I think that it probably deserved. There were other fine versions of the etudes. I mean, don't get me wrong, this wasn't like the first. But until this came, there was no consensus that the etudes were a thing to be interpreted and treated separately as one of the great Debussy piano works. And Uchida was the person who showed us that. And for that reason, her version has been, and to a great degree, I think remains today, the reference recording. It came out originally on Philips. Now it's on Decca. See, it's now on Decca. There's the Decca thing. And it was re-released as one of the originals, which I always found a little bizarre because originals ought to be things done in like the 50s, the first recording of something, whereas this was 1990. But it goes to show the fact that it was on originals, just how fresh the performance is, number one, and just how unknown Debussy's etudes were to anybody but specialists, serious Debussy specialists, before this thing came out and brought them to a wider public. So it richly deserves the appellation reference recording. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.